was super bad. This truck that was a Mustang. Hopefully he doesn't hit any crowds. Welcome to Liam Drives, and for the past 3 weeks, as far as I knew, I was driving around in my Dodge Ram with a blown head gasket. For those of you who aren't subscribed and not keeping up with this little journey I've been having with this truck, here's a quick recap. So I bought the truck from a shady dealership with a plethora of issues. The tires, much like Clint Eastwood, are almost bald, very old, and dangerous, depending on what movie they're in. The sunroof is leaking, and this rear sliding glass window doesn't work. Now, all these are pretty costly to fix. As you know, new rubber is very expensive. It's about $1,400 to $1,800 to get good, decent rubber. Sunroof is a few $100s to unclog the drains so it doesn't leak into the cabin. And to replace this back window, it's $1,000. I was quoted $1,000 to do this because the seats have to come out. All this is one unit, the mechanism, the motor, the sliders, it's all one unit, and it's a very big job. So already I bought this truck and it needs thousands of dollars on repairs. And none of this was disclosed to me. This is a dealership. A dealership is supposed to tell you the issues of a vehicle. Then when I brought the truck to get the radiator changed, when I went to pick it up, the mechanic showed me this yellow mucus sitting on top of the radiator coolant. And he said, dude, your head gasket's blown. And I was like, great, that's absolutely fantastic. So I called up the dealership and let them know about it. They look at the truck, they say the head gasket's blown. After some babbling back and forth, they cut me a check for $2,000 to get it fixed. So I've had 2 mechanics tell me that the head gasket is blown, but here's the thing that's interesting. The truck had no symptoms of a blown head gasket. It wasn't overheating, it wasn't losing coolant to the oil, it wasn't losing oil to the coolant, there wasn't smoke billowing out the back. It had no symptoms of a blown head gasket. And I was starting to doubt if the head gasket really is blown. So I took it to a 3rd mechanic and they did a leak down test, and here's what they found. The leak down test showed that the head gasket wasn't blown, and this meant that the dealership gave me $2,000 to fix something that wasn't even wrong with the truck. Yes! But it's not all fine and dandy, Sandy. The leak down test numbers did show that cylinders 2 and 3 are leaking 20% in cylinder 2 and 30% in cylinder 3. So what does that mean? What this means is that the piston rings on cylinders 2 and 3 are slightly more worn than the rest. And because of that, it's leaking some air into the crankcase of the motor. The term used to describe this issue is called blow-by. Now, all cars have blow-by because of the oil gap clearances that an engine needs in order to have it lubricated properly. What causes the blow-by that you don't want, though, is a higher mileage motor and lack of maintenance, aka not doing your oil changes like you should. So that's the case with this truck. It has a little bit of blow-by in cylinders 2 and 3, but both those cylinders are on either side of the engine. The engine is a V shape, right? So it's on either side. If it was leaking 80% or 90% all on one side of the engine, then that would indicate that there's probably something more to worry about, like a head gasket. But because the rest of the engine checks out beautifully, and there's only 2 cylinders on either side of the engine that are not the greatest, that means that the head gasket is sealing properly, and that this issue is just because the truck has higher mileage. If this blow-by issue was super bad in this truck, it would be making no power, it'd be losing a ton of oil, and tons of blue and black smoke would be spewing out of the exhaust. Because this truck makes a lot of power and there's no smoke coming out the exhaust, the mechanic said that as long as you maintain it, you should be good, and he's seen plenty of cars that are daily driven with worse blow-by issues and they still run fine. Now, about that $2,000 the dealership gave me to fix the head gasket, well, here's what I did with it. These are my new wheels and tires. I am super excited to finally have these on the truck. I've been waiting forever to pull the trigger on them, and this purchase really hinged on whether or not my head gasket was blown, because if it was blown, then obviously I would take the money the dealer gave me to get it fixed, but obviously that wasn't the case. Head gasket was never an issue, so that money went towards the tires and I paid for the wheels myself. Now, if you know, you know, but if you don't know, these are Nitto Ridge Grapplers, and they are a hybrid tire. I'll explain what that means in a little bit, so make sure you keep watching. And they are sized at 35 by 12.5 by 17, very large, and they are wrapped around Method NV305 alloy wheels, and this is Method's Street Series wheel. I'll talk a little bit more about those later on. But first I just want to discuss why I chose 35s, and this is going to be pretty personal, you guys, so bear with me. But throughout my whole life I've always been so insecure about how I look and my manliness. I'm kind of skinny, I'm not all that tall, I'm only like maybe 6 feet, and I just was feeling really uncomfortable with how I look and how people perceive me, and I was just totally uncomfortable with that and my masculinity. And putting these size tires on my truck, it seemed like the only answer, and honestly, it was. And I encourage you to do the same if you have the same feelings as me. And yeah, I'm glad I went with this. Just kidding, I don't care what people think about me. You can say what you want about me. I got a woman at home, she treats me well, and she thinks I'm good looking, and I happen to agree with her. Don't worry, I'm not that cocky in real life. I'm just super stoked about these, and that's just for comedic effect, I'm sure you can understand. I've always been a fan of this look, a chunky tire, a smaller wheel. I can't stand when people put 24-inch by 13-inch wheels on their rig with a super low profile tire and with a negative like 200 offset sticking out a mile. I don't like it, it's not for me. I've always been a fan of a chunky tire, a smaller wheel, and just a little bit of poke, and that's exactly what I've achieved with this little combo that I got going. Also, 35s are about the biggest tire I can fit on this without lifting it any higher. I only got a leveling kit on this, and as you can see, this just clears the fender liner right here. I will have to do some trimming. It does rub when I'm full lock to the left and reversing on the passenger side. It's nothing major, but as far as daily driving goes, it doesn't rub at all. So let's talk about these Nitto Ridge Grapplers. I mentioned that they're a hybrid tire, and pretty much what that means is it takes the best qualities of a mud terrain and the best qualities of an all-terrain and combines them together. The result is a super aggressive looking tire that is capable in all sorts of terrains, and this is actually super quiet on the road. You look how aggressive the tread is. You'd think it'd be super loud, but it's not that loud at all. It's very tolerable. Let's talk about the methods. These are 17 inches by 8.5, and it has a 0 offset. And this is Method's Street Series wheel. It's not a real beadlock. It's made to look like a beadlock. But the cool part is these bolts you can unscrew them and swap them out for a different color if you want. It also has MRW embossed in them, which is pretty cool. It stands for Method Race Wheels. Really cool feature. There's 12 spokes to deal with and a lot of other intricate things. So cleaning them takes a while, but it's worth it in the end, as you can see. The other reason why I chose these, is apart from how awesome they are, is they're pretty lightweight. They're 30 pounds a piece, and that's really light for a full-size truck. What I learned owning lightweight vehicles in the past, like my Mazda Miata and my Mazda 2, is the lighter the wheel you can find, the better. It's going to help with gas mileage and drivability of the truck. And obviously that's affected regardless, because I've put 35 tires on this, but it wouldn't be as bad as if I went with a heavier wheel. Some aftermarket truck wheels are upwards of 40 pounds, and you times that by 4, plus the weight of your big tire, you end up with a very sluggish and slow feeling truck. And yes, this truck does feel sluggish with these, but it's not as bad as it would be if I got heavier wheels. So let's just briefly talk about how these big tires drive on the road and how the truck handles them. Well, the truck is slower. It's physics. You put bigger tires on a vehicle, it requires more power, more rotating mass to move them, and you can definitely feel it. I am used to it now. The truck doesn't feel slow. It just feels slower, and you can tell the engine's working harder to move these big tires around. It's nothing major. I can't imagine what it would be like with 37s. I think you have to be crazy to put 37s on a gas-powered truck like this. That only belongs on diesels, but even then, those are pretty big. And as you can hear, they're pretty quiet, these tires. Super good. You look at how aggressive the tread pattern is, and you'd think they'd be super loud, but they're not much louder than the tires I had on before. They sound a tiny bit louder, but it's not like a usual mud terrain where it's just like this noise. It's just a constant hum, and you can hear it coming down like 2 kilometers away. You can hear that thing coming. But it's very quiet, very livable, and perfect for a daily. And the truck still maneuvers fine too. It doesn't feel any different turning wise. Braking, you can definitely feel it. You got to push on the brake pedal a little bit harder, but it's not alarming. But yeah, it looks good, feels good, sounds good, and I'm super stoked. Congratulations folks, you made it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you made it this far, then make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Also, let me know what you think in the comments about my new wheels and tires. I love them. Let me know what you think about them. I want to hear about your opinions and whether or not you would get 35s for a truck like this, or 33s, or what other wheels would you get. I want to hear about it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.